Hey there, movie fans. Welcome to a new episode of Rank and File. I'm your host, Scott Movie Mantz. This episode, we're going to go big, as in look at the size of that thing, big, because we are going to rank all of the Star Wars movies. This is going to be really interesting, so let's get right to it with number 11 on the list, Attack of the Clones. Directed by George Lucas. Release date May 16th, 2002. Budget $115 million. Domestic gross $311 million. Worldwide gross $654 million. Rotten Tomatoes score is 65%. It is unwatchable. It's so badly written. Terrible dialogue, stiff acting, no chemistry between Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman. Overloaded with CGI special effects. Emphasis on the special effects over character. It lacks humanity and heart. Let's move on to number 10, The Phantom Menace. Directed by George Lucas. Release date May 19th, 1999. Budget $115 million. Domestic gross $475 million. Worldwide gross $1.03 billion. Rotten Tomatoes score is 53%. This is the first new Star Wars movie in 16 years. A movie we never thought we would get after Return of the Jedi closed out the original trilogy in 1983, but we got it. Expectations were huge. No movie could possibly meet those expectations, but even without that, the movie was still very disappointing. Terrible dialogue, stiff acting, a boring backstory about the Trade Federation, and this whole thing about midi-chlorians taking the Force, this spiritual, mystical, religious thing from the original trilogy and making it biological, just took all the spiritual aspect out of the Force. I never bought for a minute that Jake Lloyd would grow up to be Darth Vader. And Jar Jar Binks, we all know he's the most annoying character in movie history, so I'm not going to say any more about that. But The Phantom Menace does have its merits. The pod race was really exciting, and the big lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul, the Duel of the Fates, really fun to watch. Moving on to number 9, Solo, directed by Ron Howard. Release date May 25th, 2018. Budget $275 million. Domestic gross is $213.7 million. Worldwide gross $393 million. Rotten Tomatoes score 70%. This is the lowest grossing Star Wars movie domestically, the lowest grossing Star Wars movie worldwide. Problematic production. Directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller were replaced by Lucasfilm way after production began and replaced by Ron Howard, who had to do a lot of reshoots. But even with all that, the movie is uninspired, it's dull, it's ordinary, it's kind of bland. Alden Ehrenreich, who is a terrific actor on his own terms, just couldn't fill Harrison Ford's shoes. He couldn't capture the charm. And I think the big problem with Solo is that all the things you heard about Han Solo in the original trilogy, like how he got the Millennium Falcon, when you finally see that play out in Solo, it's executed in such a dull and uninspired way. It just sort of sums it up that Solo was a story that it turned out we just didn't really need. Number 8 on the list is The Last Jedi, directed by Rian Johnson. Release date December 15th, 2017. Budget $317 million. Domestic gross $620 million. Worldwide gross $1.3 billion. Rotten Tomatoes score is 91%. Not a great movie, not terrible either. It has its moments. The beginning part is great. The end part is good. The middle part is slow and it drags. I get what Rian Johnson was trying to do here. I just don't think that he knocked it out of the park. It just lacks focus. It lacks imagination. I sure did like a whole lot of other movies more, including number 7 on the list, The Rise of Skywalker, directed by J.J. Abrams. Release date December 20th, 2019. Budget $275 million. Domestic gross is $515 million. Worldwide gross $1.07 billion. Rotten Tomatoes score is 52%. A lot of flaws in this film, but I had a great time with it. A lot of fan service here, but I dug it. It worked for me. Overall, I think the problem with The Rise of Skywalker is it's trying to do too much. It feels rushed. It lacks focus. Feels like the director, J.J. Abrams, is trying to check off all the boxes on what he wants to do. It has to not only close out the sequel trilogy, but also close out the 9-episode Skywalker saga as well. You really get the sense that with this sequel trilogy, they really didn't have it mapped out. Feels like they made it up as they went along. It didn't have the complete arc of the original trilogy or even the prequel trilogy. It's not the Avengers Endgame of the Star Wars saga, but I still really, really enjoyed it. It worked for me, and it was a satisfying enough conclusion, and yes, it could have been a whole lot better. Number 6, Revenge of the Sith. Directed by George Lucas. Release date, May 19th, 2005. A budget, $113 million. Domestic gross, $380 million. Worldwide gross, $868 million. Rotten Tomatoes score is 80%. Safe to say that Revenge of the Sith is the best of the prequels by far. It's still not great. It still suffers from bad dialogue and wooden acting, too much CGI, too much special effects, but it does get better as it goes along. You know where it's going, and you can't wait for it to get there. You know that this is the one. This is the movie where you see Anakin Skywalker become Darth Vader, and when it gets to that point, it is exciting. I love the big lightsaber battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Number 5, The Force Awakens, directed by J.J. Abrams. Release date, December 18th, 2015. Budget between $245 and $300 million, depending on reports. Domestic gross is $937 million. Worldwide gross $2.07 billion. Rotten Tomatoes score is 93%. 10 years after the prequel trilogy came to a close, disappointing a lot of longtime Star Wars fans. That was more like it. The Force Awakens felt like a return to form for Star Wars. So much of a return to form that it felt like a remake of the original film, A New Hope. The Death Star is now Starkiller Base. The Empire is now the First Order. It just played it too safe. It didn't take any real chances. But I did love the new characters, Rey, Finn, and Poe. I didn't think that Kylo Ren was a very interesting character. He didn't feel like enough of a villain like Darth Vader. Maybe that was the point. I think Adam Driver is a great actor, but Kylo Ren just never really did it for me. Still fun movie. I love seeing Han and Chewie and Leia again. It really did feel like a Star Wars movie. Number 4, Return of the Jedi, directed by Richard Marquand. Release date, May 25th, 1983. Budget, $32.5 million. Domestic gross, $309 million. Worldwide gross, $475 million. Rotten Tomatoes score is 82%. Return of the Jedi, not as good as Empire Strikes Back, not as good as the original Star Wars. It felt like a step back. It was too cute. It was too geared towards kids. I felt like with Return of the Jedi, Star Wars lost its edge, and so did Han Solo. I hated the Ewoks. You're attacking another Death Star, but I love the film because I love these characters. The last act of the movie, you have 3 battles going on at once, and it was all very, very exciting. Number 3, Rogue One, directed by Gareth Edwards. Release date, December 16th, 2016. Budget between $200 and $260 million. Domestic gross, $532 million. Worldwide gross, $1.06 billion. Rotten Tomatoes score is 84%. What a great surprise. I love Rogue One. It feels like a Star Wars movie. Also a problematic production. Gareth Edwards directed the film. It was deemed too gritty, and they brought in Tony Gilroy to do reshoots. In this case, it really worked. The first half is a little slow, but the second hour of this film is so exciting. I love seeing Darth Vader as a total badass. That was like something that we'd never seen before. Him with all this energy, you know, when he's like throwing people around with the Force, with the lightsaber battle. It was awesome. I love the new characters, especially Felicity Jones was terrific. The way that Rogue One ends, when you see young Princess Leia and the way it ties directly into the original film like Lego. They snap right together. You could watch Rogue One and A New Hope back to back, and it would be awesome. Moving on to number 2, it's the original Star Wars, directed by George Lucas. Release date, everyone knows this, May 25th, 1977. Budget, $11 million. I know, that's it. Domestic gross, $461 million. Worldwide gross, $775.5 million. Of course, that includes the reissues from the late 90s. Rotten Tomatoes score is 92%. Look, this is the one that started it all. The original Star Wars film changed everything. It was a game changer in every sense of the word. It changed Hollywood. It changed the way movies were made. It changed the way movies were marketed. And it definitely changed the way movies were merchandised. But without all that, it is a complete film, great characters. It's a coming-of-age story about Luke Skywalker learning the ways of the Force from Obi-Wan Kenobi, brilliantly played by Sir Alec Guinness. I love the dynamic between Han Solo and Princess Leia, Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher. Great chemistry. This is a complete movie. Great attack on the Death Star at the end of this movie. And the only thing that's missing from the original Star Wars is the Imperial March. John Williams' score, terrific, but you kind of missed the Imperial March, which we got in the next movie. That brings us to the number 1 Star Wars movie on this list. Of course, it had to be, my shirt gives it away, The Empire Strikes Back. Of course, it's The Empire Strikes Back. Directed by IRVIN Kershner. Release date, May 21st, 1980. Budget, $33 million. Domestic gross, $290.3 million. Worldwide gross, $548 million. Rotten Tomatoes score is 94%. This is the greatest Star Wars movie of them all, and one of the very best movies ever made, period. It's deeper, it's darker, it's more imaginative. You have so many iconic scenes. The AT-AT battle on Hoth, the asteroid chase, Yoda on Dagobah, Bespin. You have great new characters like Lando Calrissian, Boba Fett, and of course Yoda. Great love story between Han and Leia. One of the great surprises in movie history. I Am Your Father. Watch that movie again after like 300 times. It still packs a punch. It's a great screenplay, sharp dialogue. A galaxy-wide battle between good and evil was made personal the moment that Vader said, "I am your father." It's just such an amazing moment. Ends on a great cliffhanger. Brilliant, brilliant score by John Williams. My personal favorite score of all time. There you go. The best Star Wars movie of all time, The Empire Strikes Back. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Movie Mantz. Please comment below. Let me know what you think. Please share this video with other Star Wars fans. And until the next episode of Rank and File, may the Force be with you.